Good morning. I'm hoping that you're getting your notifications. And once I can see that we have a good morning crowd, we will begin. This is a live Q&A and discussion on purpose, being here creatively, being here and bringing oneness into creativity, purpose as a whole, missions, alignment, spiritual abilities, individually and collectively. These are the types of questions I will answer today. So when you feel that you want to ask a question about this topic and how it relates to your spiritual path, I'm happy to step in and answer them. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Pamela Aaralyn, and I was born a clear conduit channel. And basically, when you see my logo here, avatar, all that means is that I realize that I, much like you or anyone else, am an expression of a piece of God in a form currently. I am not that form. I'm not a mind. I am not a body, and I'm well aware that I am spirit who is temporarily involved in time for reasons, creative reasons, fun reasons, loving reasons. And we're here to discuss reasons that you are here, reasons that we all are here, and to, kind of look at a creative environment outside of, what Lilith always tells me. She said, being in a body does not make any sense. And when you understand the nature of that right away, then you stop trying to fit in or belong or accept an insane environment, right? The way that the world operates, quite frankly, is not sane. So this isn't about trying to fit in, trying to belong, trying to accept that which isn't sane to begin with. That's not where we're going today. We're not going to try to make the world beautiful. We're not going to try to make it make sense. We're not going to try to make it, something that you can wrap your head around, because if we did that, then you would join the collectives of people who are asleep, quite frankly, and also operating in that insanity and pretending to make it make sense, pretending to make it sane, right? So that's not what we're here to do today. We're here to bridge this massive gap, something that Heylal calls the great forgetting, and something that on the other side of that Lilith calls the great remembering, that many people in spiritual communities around the world are calling this a great awakening, ascension, the event, the shift, realization, actualization, enlightenment, right? And none of that is anything that can also make any sense, because it involves separation, which is also insane, right? The idea of separation, which causes so much fear, causes so much feeling of not belonging, all of that. The only reason why that feeling is there is to wake you up to the fact that the creative world doesn't make sense and is insane to begin with. And then from there, the goal in awakening, in the great remembering, as Lilith calls it, is not to accept, is not to belong. It is not to try to make it sane. It's not to try to make an insane world okay, or to try to make a chaotic world peaceful. That would be insane too. What we're trying to do is to go so deeply within that we realize that everything we see, we created. That in order to realize that you are God's in a creative form, you must realize and take full responsibility for everything that you see. Because if you are God, right? That's where we're going here. You are God's in form. Then you are responsible for all. How could God not be? Right? Everybody with me? Sometimes I feel on these live things that I'm just talking to myself. So I love your feedback. And I can't wait to discuss your questions about this concept. So you are God's creatively realizing that you are that you are not mental and physical, that psychological and physiological constructs. You are not minds and bodies. Okay? So there is a bridge between the realization of that truth and this false, insane idea that you are minds and bodies. There is a bridge of consciousness. And when you begin to live that bridge in each and every moment of your now, then you begin to wake up. You begin to remember the glory, the power, the beauty, the talents, the spiritual abilities, all the things that you're seeking and calling purpose, which, by the way, those are alignments. Those aren't purposes. Jobs, goals, dreams, spiritual abilities and actions. The spiritual abilities are tools. That's all that they are. They are not purpose. Your purpose is actually a feeling state. You are a human being who is feeling and creating from such feeling. You are not a human doing. Therefore, your purpose cannot be a doctor, a channel, a teacher, a healer, an attorney. Now, you're getting closer when you start to say, I am an attorney who brings about equality and helps people realize equality. Say, if you're in immigration law, you're getting closer when you say, I am a healer who feels this way. That's closer, but that's still not it. It is actually the building blocks of matter from intrinsic emotions, from feelings that are there when those feelings and intrinsic emotions are aligned with truth. Now, what is truth? Anybody? How do you know that you are aligning in your feelings with truth and thereby beginning to realize purpose? Any takers on that? Resonance, yeah. Resonance is definitely a sign. Okay. How do you know? When you feel at peace? Yeah, kind of. You are at peace naturally. So many people come to me who are actually not at rest in their purpose, who say, I'm just looking for peace. You are peace naturally at the foundation of all of the other creative purposes and feelings. You are peace. You're free of judgment. Someone says, yes, that's a natural thing that will occur when you're in alignment with true purpose and when you're in truth of purpose. Yes, the person who said, I believe your YouTube handle is state of being. If you feel love, then that is truth. Yes, that's really close and right there on it. In the universal laws of oneness, there are two truths. Something is either love or a call for more love. So if you see something that you feel that you cannot love, forgive it. And if you cannot forgive it, send compassion to it. When you are doing that, then you are aligning closer to building a bridge of consciousness to your purpose. So does this mean that everybody's purpose collectively is love? Yes, but that's oneness, great. But you chose to be in a physiological and psychological construct and in a form. So for me to simply say you are love and that is the end, not quite it. That's the end in oneness, but right now you are occupying constructs of time in form. And even though you are not form and you realize time does not exist except in this creative environment, it wants to present itself to you as an opportunity to love, an opportunity to forgive, an opportunity to be compassionate, an opportunity to choose love, forgiveness, compassion, acceptance, allowance, trust, flow, and inevitably grace. The building blocks of all matter when aligned to true purpose in oneness and in creativity is grace. Quarters, you got that? The reason why you are here is grace. It is the highest frequency accessible in any oneness or creative environment that has ever existed or not. And I mean to say not because time is that not, right? So outside of time, grace is. It is a gift. It is naturally there. It is naturally peaceful. It is naturally loving, right? I forgot to turn things off. Super. Okay. So then from that, there are actions that you begin to exhibit. And it comes from something that I like to call desire. You like to call it passion. Lilith also likes to call it the soul stirring. And she shows me this massive cauldron and this big stick in it. And she's stirring it. And when something really stirs my soul, I call it the soul stew. The last time I felt this way, I was really frustrated with album number 2 and the way that it kind of put me outside of my box, and it's still not ready because it's so far outside of my box that I just felt it was so difficult. The whole album was like this shamanic journey of facing all sorts of pain, right? And when I got done with it, I couldn't really move on to album 3 to create anything else. And I was stuck in this concept of, well, I already have album number 1. I already told them this is album number 2. So I can't really move on to album number 3 because I haven't put out album number 2. And I was just in this interesting little flux of, I must do this A, B, C, D. We Taurians are like that. Taurus people out there, you hear me? Right? So I was doing the Taurian thing and I'm like, I'm not going to record anything else because this isn't done yet. And I haven't blah, blah, blah. And I haven't mixed this or produced that. Right. And then I was denying that it was a playing around and creating with fear. And then one day I was sitting on my back porch overlooking the sunset and I had just finished the sunset. And I was sitting out there with my music producer and my partner and they were talking about something. And after I watched the sunset, I walked up and I just kind of sat down and I was just listening, but I really wasn't. Like I was listening to every single thing that they were saying, kind of, but in and out. And I'm in my zone and I'm hearing this beautiful, flowing, dark but light, powerful but emotionally vulnerable, this really passionate soul stirring of a song coming in my mind, coming in my heart. And it started to become a melody. And Michael's looking at me. He's like, I could tell he knew that I wasn't really listening. And, something, and finally one of them perked up and said, do you have anything to say about what we're going through with this, this video that we're about to put out to promote your second album? And I was like, no, busted, not listening really, but also listening to something deeply within me in my now. There's a reason why I'm sharing this story. Okay. You're listening, but not those of you who are typing. And then there are those of you who know that you know what I'm talking about. This soul stirring, this feeling that happens. And no matter what else is going on, no matter what your head says you need to know, no matter if your phone's ringing and your emails are piling up, there's something in here and you have to do it right now. Musicians, artists, channels, you know what I'm talking about. Right? So I looked at my music producer and I said, I need to record right now. Like now. He's like, really? Okay. Can you give me 20 minutes? Right? So what I was feeling was so stirring, so passionate that it was becoming my breath and it started to become a song. And then I could hear instruments in the background. I could hear all of them. I could hear strings. I could hear harps. I could hear a choir, which sounded very deep. I could hear my singing bowls. I could hear my tune. I could hear all of it as if it was one and it was happening right now. That soul stew is what I call it. That is purpose. So I had to go in. He said, give me 20 minutes. I'm like, hurry up, just hurry up. It's coming out right now. It's kind of like a birth that wants to happen. Those of you mothers, when you really know you're in labor and if you've ever had a quick birth, yeah, it's like that, right? So we went inside and we recorded the most beautiful song that I have ever recorded to date. And for those of you on Patreon right now, you got a behind the scenes of him producing it and you got to hear some of its little tune that's growing right now and it's in production. And then there was album number 3 right then, which, by the way, is so powerful that I can't stop thinking about it. And all of these stirrings are happening all the time, right? So if I had not listened to that, if I had said, oh, how does that align to my purpose? Oh, does that really make money? Is that really going to put food on the table? Is that, oh, I can't do that because I have to sleep right now. Which, by the way, it was bedtime for me. I go to bed pretty early. If I had made any other excuse to get outside of my now, I would not be honoring purpose. So that's why I said in the title of this video, hint, your purpose is not to make money and die. And the reason why I say die is because you can't take it with you. It is a human construct that only exists here. And if you're worried so much about how something is going to support you, it will not support you. Okay? So I had to identify the feeling state that was in alignment with that, and then create from that without any concern of anything else. Do that and then worry about the marketing later. Do that and worry about product packaging later. Do that and worry about any of that later. If you're going to worry at all, do it later. If you can't stop making yourself worry, at least commit to worrying later, because the later isn't, it's there. It hasn't happened yet. You're here now. So purpose, again, is a feeling state. Okay? And it is meant to be exhibited in every now. And the moment you connect to those emotions in every now, and by the way, that song, that is the most beautiful song that I've ever created, is actually slightly depressing. It is like, it's on the verge of like a pull, like a very stirring pull of something that pulls you out of depression and makes you face it simultaneously, and then brings you into a joy and a grace and a deep, passionate grace. That's what that song does. It is what I call a grace tone, which is why I call that album Grace Tones, because those are the deepest stirrings of my soul that bring grace to the world. And that is the deepest gift I can offer you, whether you pay for it or not. No idea if that album is going to make money, and I don't care. I have no idea if you're going to, some, generous supporter is going to donate $100 right now, and I don't care, right? You need a badass channeling, someone said. All right, well, I'm giving you one. Take it or leave it. What you're hearing right now coming in my mouth is always me. How can I channel something that is not? So channels out there, channel yourselves. Lilith is me. Heylal is me. And when I decided to channel me, by the way, that's when I started to really just stop worrying about it. The whole world would say, channel this one, channel that one, channel this one, channel that one. Okay, I've been doing that for 22 years when all those beings are fractals of the other ones anyway. So got off on a big old long tangent. Still have about 20 minutes to answer your questions. Let's start. If I didn't get to them, it's hard for me to scroll because I don't focus in that way. So just use your copy and paste feature and re-paste. What does Lilith or Heylal think of the teachings of a being named Sadhguru? I normally don't do that, but I will in this case because Lilith loves her some Sadhguru. Yeah, absolutely. In high alignment. And the reason why is because not only does he focus intently on oneness, but he also focuses on the creative environment of Earth, not to save Earth, but from the way she describes it, she loves the way he's changing people's minds collectively, because you can't go in with the concept of salvation. That's not how God operates. God doesn't need saving, right? But there's something very true about the way that he explains water and the, water problem right now, particularly in India. that she really, really loves, because it's not a problem of lack of precipitation. It's not a problem of lack of water coming into the rivers. It's not a problem in that way. It's a problem that we are destroying the top soils, the green earth of our lands. And some of that requires a change in agricultural technology, according to Heylal. Okay, so that's interesting that that was the first question of the day. Very, very interesting. What do you think about nothingness? Nothingness in the absence of ego? Nothingness is all that there is outside of these creative constructs. And when you can accept that nothingness, then you can employ deeper creativity in the somethingness of a third dimensional environment. For example, what Heylal is saying right now is nothingness, the absence of ego. It just simply, nothing is absent of God. Okay? Nothing is absent of God. God is not a not, therefore cannot be separate from. So your concept of ego is a tool that you as God created. Therefore, it is a tool. While it is not God in spirit itself, it is a tool that God is utilizing. So to separate it and to underestimate its power and creativity, according to Lilith, is absolutely insane. Ego holds tremendous power that you can create with in these psychological and physiological constructs. The end. The end of that anyway. It also holds tremendous creative power to destroy you. Okay, at least in the form and the mind. It can do that. It can destroy that which doesn't exist very easily. Koof. Right? So that's that. And, nothingness is when you can sit so deeply and contently and accept who you are, accept that you are not ego, and that you choose to make it a mighty creative tool. But in this moment of nothingness, you just simply sit with yourself. It's not a matter of deleting thoughts, omitting thoughts, crushing ego, squashing ego, killing ego, death of ego. So many things that I've heard in oneness environments, right? It is simply a matter of accepting and sitting with yourself and accepting that everything is there. If it is not you, it is still there to serve you in some way, shape, or form. And it's not up to you to know everything. It is not up to you to know how. The only thing that you need to do is breathe deeply and sit with that nothingness long enough that you begin to realize when thoughts are insane and when they are working for you or against you, and then you choose them or you don't. It's so easy to do once you've sat with yourself and you've sat with the mind, you've sat with such powerful physiological and psychological constructs of mind, and that's ego, of body. When you've sat with them long enough that they begin to work for you, that they are servants to the master that is spirit, when they are servants to you, then they stop mastering your entire creative experience. It is absolutely insane to operate otherwise. So when you sit with yourself and you can accept, if you believe you're alone, if your ego is saying, I'm lonely, I've been abandoned, I've been separated. Okay, the first degree of oneness and acceptance and loving yourself, the first degree of the great remembering, as Lilith calls it, you have called it the shift, the event, the ascension, enlightenment, realization, actualization, call it what you will, Kundalini rising, don't care what you call it. But when you begin to really choose that, if your mind's telling you something, so what? You're alone. So what? You're apathetic. So what? You're angry. So what? Okay? Emotions, not trying to cure something. Someone asked for a cure for apathy. You're not trying to make the mind different than what it's giving you as a tool for your wholeness, for your return to remembering who you are. The mind is giving you a tool. So accept it, be it, right? If you don't like the way you feel, forgive that. Forgive the fact that you don't like the way you feel and move on. Feelings are tools. Nothingness is truth, but feelings are tools, and you created them. Thank you so much for um, the things that you're doing in your donations right now. By the way, it makes it so much easier to put time into this. At least once, twice, 2 times a week, as I've been trying to do. And your donations are just so beneficial to make that happen. Thank you. How do you work with anger? Anger as an emotion. Next question. I utilize it as a tool, and I don't try to believe that it's separating me from God. I try to ask my ego. I use it. I inquire, and I say, how are you serving me right now? And in most cases of anger, it is some degree of separation where a person feels helpless, powerless. And anger is a return to that. Anger is the inner child saying, I'm throwing a tantrum right now. I'm stomping my feet because you have ignored my power, right? So then I get up and I channel that anger into something loving, creative, and powerful that is not harmful to myself or others, but that will get their passion for power flowing in the way that I seek my passion for power to flow. Okay? So, in other words, I get up and I sing. I may get up and I may paint something. I may get live on YouTube and discuss it. Suddenly, as a channel, a being may come, normally Lilith. Thank you so much, Sean, for that again. Donation there. It was really helpful. So when I get that feeling, I turn it into a desire and a passion. It's a very Lilith thing. And I say, oh, my goodness, thank you, RV. I appreciate that donation. And then I just flow with it. Something comes, something incredible comes. The last time I got really, really angry, a song came out. And the time before that, I went out to do some weeding in the garden. Ended up like really understanding anger that way when you're yanking weeds and you accidentally get pricked by a cactus or like a rose thorn, which is showing you how anger can be prickly and how you're prickling yourself and then grabbing onto pain over and over again. But there was something about the power of clarity and focus that I was channeling in that moment. That to be clear, not to have destructive anger, but to have constructive, driven, clear. I call this slothing. When I get angry, I do this thing, and I have this one of my spirit guides, spirit animals, spirit totems, animal totems, whatever. Whenever I get angry, this sloth comes and he says, "Slow down." Thank you, John, for that. The other John. There's like 3 Johns in a row that have sent me little donations. Thank you for that. And nothing is little because they all build up. Even if it's just $1, it could be a lot by the end of this donation. And then you pay for my children's groceries. Yahoo! Happy. Thank you. So about the slothing, this sloth shows up and the sloth says, what if you took all that power and you stopped creating so chaotically? You didn't yank that rose with your bare hands, but you just slowly went in and you decided where you wanted to prune the rose and you cut it very slowly. What would you do with it then? What if you then slowly cut all the thorns off the rose and then a beautiful kitchen display could be created where there's several different colors of roses on your table. You're going to smell that forever. It's going to be beautiful in your home for a long time. So sloths are the epitome of grace for me. If you really watch a sloth and how slow they are to feed themselves and all sorts of things, their vibration is incredible. So, another example of anger for me, I kept doing this thing when I was in a hurry to get my kids into school in the morning. And as a single mom at that time, it was an incredible experience to like get 4 kids to school, or 3 and 1 awake for virtual academy. And I kept like slamming my foot in the door. Like, it's such a ridiculous thing. Like, you're in such a hurry to like close all the doors and get all the seatbelts on and turn the car on and get your navigational tools going, et cetera, that you literally slam your foot in the door. I had done it 3 times, and the sloth was like, "What? Get your foot, slow down, breathe. Your foot is a part of the body. I know that you don't know, you don't really want to think you're a body, great, but you're using it right now. Slow that body down." So then I would breathe and slowly sit down, then slowly pull my feet up underneath the gas pedal, slowly press the button to turn the car on, slowly plug the phone into the car. You see where I'm going with this. Slowly turn on the music, slowly tell their children to please put on their seatbelts, even though you've had to tell them a zillion times for the past 8 years of their lives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because it really doesn't matter, right? So slothing, they are the best teachers in grief. I love sloths. Yeah. Thank you, Christina, for that donation. I really appreciate it. It helps me keep going and keep doing these every week when I can receive that. Thank you. Names are names are names. Whoever asked me, is Heylal the same as Halilayel? There are various fractals of the same being. And when you really look at oneness, they're all going to be the same being trying to pose as something or another. So someone asked me in a super chat a while ago, and I do see the super chat. It's not that I honor money more than if you're not giving me money. They show up bold in my screen, and that's why I'm able to see them. They just flash in front of my face. So your answer to that question, how do I channel my fear? Fear is love. Fear is the other side of the coin. So it's flipping a coin is all that is. Okay. So essentially speaking, with fear, you got to ask yourself, how are you trying to love yourself now? And if you don't believe that's what you're doing, then you believe in separation, because the other being is you. Based upon the universal law of reflection, they are you, showing you something that gives you an opportunity to forgive, perhaps to send compassion to something or some circumstance or someone. So to forgive, to be compassionate, to accept, to allow, to trust, to flow, to merge with that circumstance or person as you. Okay. Someone said sloths are the best aside from unicorns. Gosh, that's an interesting. I can't even. Yeah, they're like this to me. Sloths are incredible and not very recognized on this planet. I wish that most people would just go and sit in front of a sloth and really gather their wisdom. They are incredible. So we have about 10 more minutes, but before I have to start with my students for the day. I'm a mentor to help people awaken their spiritual abilities. I've been doing that for about 7 years now. Prior to then, it was channeling and psychic readings, all of which I still do, but I'm only going to be doing for this year. So I have to start that here soon in about 20 minutes for my day. If you're interested in working with me, you can find out all that information on PamelaAaralyn.com. Spiritual closet. I keep hearing you say that, but what do you mean by what have you made that term mean to you, Juan? Should I refrain from speaking about supernatural abilities anytime? Well, this is something about Heylal. He says, I am not here to advise you. I am here to talk to you about oneness. And then you, as a God, create your own advice. You begin to see that, so this concept, spiritual closet, he said you created it for yourself, and you basically place yourself within it as if it is something that might be confining you. So why are you doing that? It's a good question that he wants you to ask yourself. What Lilith says about this, should I refrain from speaking about supernatural abilities to others? She said it's not a matter of should or should not. How do you feel when you speak about it? And what is your intention? What is your agenda behind when you're trying to come out of the spiritual closet? Some people try to envision spirituality and their abilities as something that should be kind of shut in because they're worried that if they bring that out into the world, that they'll be shamed, they'll be have their power kind of dampened. They'll feel squashed, they will feel controlled or powerless. So that feeling that you feel when that happens, that effect, that result, that natural consequence, that cause and effect, you know, there's a cause to that effect. So, what is the belief that caused that effect that you're afraid of? It's just something to really look at. Is it that you need their acceptance and their validation? And if you don't, then you don't feel your power, you don't feel worthy, you don't feel, you know, good enough or free enough to recognize that you were free to begin with, to come out of that closet. Like, what is it that caused that feeling that arises from their shunning, from their shaming, from whatever is happening that's causing you to not speak out in the first place? Now, here's another potentiality. You want them to change. Sometimes people have an agenda behind staying in a spiritual closet. And then when they start to come out, they get really empowered about it. And they're like, I must speak my truth towards the Christians, the religious ones, the this, the that, in other paradigms that don't agree with them. In which case, are you not doing everything that, say, someone in a religious closet is doing that you are now condemning? So it's really interesting because that judgment can turn around and then you see how they're doing all the things that you don't like about those paradigms, those conditions, the religions on the planet, the politics on the planet, the systems that you feel controlled by. So it's just something to really, really deeply look at and to go with that. It's not a matter of do it or don't do it, but there's a reason why you feel this way. There is a belief that is causing this feeling. And it's high time that you change your mind about continuing to believe that which causes you to feel this way. Oh no, 2 minutes. I hate when we just have that short amount of time. What is depression and anxiety's relationship to purpose? Normally, anxiety is coming from your conditioned belief that you need to be a control freak. And control freaks love to be in their power. And when they're not, the brain takes over and says, be anxious. Oh my God. I don't know the future. Oh my God. I can't build based upon something that I know. And the only thing that the human ego knows is the past. It doesn't know the future. It tries to lie and tell you that it might, but it's only based upon principles of the past anyway. So when you are depressed or anxious, chances are you are not accepting something. You are not trusting. You are not allowing the feeling to actually come and just be there, present within you, right? So depression is a call for more love. Anxiety is a call for less fear, and to accept that you can only be powerless when you are conditioned from belief that the past is your only truth. Okay? So when you get break from anxiety, you say, the only thing that I can know is that which is right in front of me. The only thing that can be true and powerful is that which is right in front of me. And if you don't see something powerful and true and loving with what's right in front of you, you are asleep. And there's something that you need to feel within yourself and accept or forgive. There's deeper stuff going on here behind just depression and anxiety it's easy to be depressed and anxious in this world that, according to Lilith, is absolutely insane. Of course, you're going to, you know, feel powerless if you believe that that world's true. If you believe that what people are saying and who are unawakened and kind of in that insanity deeply, if you believe that that is the nature of your power and that that is your truth, because that's insane. Okay. But depression really is there for greater gratitude, for greater pulling of gratitude and appreciation into your now. Depression will take everything that's untrue away from you. And then you're sitting with nothing in form and nothing in the mind but that, until you can realize that you were never that mind nor that form to begin with. So I got to go because I'm late. But insofar as people are asking about mentorships, it's at PamelaAaralyn.com if you want to work with me. Not just to build your abilities, but to really any of these questions that you have on your spiritual path, to go deeper into your truth. Question: does not sharing your work equal hiding it? If you believe that that's what it is, there's this thing that's said about, and people get offended by this statement. So if you do, okay. I used to apologize for offending people with Lilith's work, but I don't do that anymore for a reason. So what is that statement that always comes up somewhere in some book? Something about like putting your casting your pearls before swines, probably in the Bible somewhere. There might be some truth before that. Because if something, it's not the person that is the swine, but whatever the vitriol is that's coming from the world, that untruth, that fear, that shame, that yuckiness, that when you come out of the spiritual closet, as one puts it, and share your truth, and then they shame it, that action is the swine. So why would you want to do that? There must be a reason why you want to do that. So I ask you more deeply, if someone is not accepting your truth, if someone not accepting your awakening, if someone wants to squash you and make you feel shameful, why do you keep sharing it with those someones? So it's more about your discernment in this case, one. Okay. So this isn't a matter of do or don't share it. It's a matter of practice of discernment, because your spiritual truth, your empowerment those are your pearls. Those are your pearls. Okay. And I'll tell you what, when someone leaves some nasty comments on my YouTube channel, I either ignore it or I delete it. But what I do not do is to take that into myself and say, oh no, I don't need to share my power now. That's not what Lilith does. She goes, oh, they want to squash it. Okay, so what? I'm not squashable. And you're getting to the crux of it now. Juan said, I do not know if they'll accept it or not. And Lilith says, and so what? If you have a fear that they won't accept it, that's from a condition of the past. Thank you for the donation, Kevin B. So if you have a fear of them not accepting it and you keep bringing that fear into your forefront, guess what? The universal law of resistance. To resist means it's going to persist. Look up the universal law of resistance. Whatever you're thinking about is reciprocated. Universal law of reciprocity. There's an equal and opposite action to everything. Science there, okay? But it's also from universal law. So essentially speaking, whatever you're feeling in the moment that is most powerful about your frequency is what you get back. So if you're going to share it, but not from this, oh my God, they may or may not accept it. You need to stop caring if they're going to accept it. And now here's the other side of the coin with that. Sometimes not only do they not want to accept it, but they don't want to hear it. In which case, if you keep spouting spiritual truth as a means of empowerment, you are in their business. So according to Byron Katie, there are, who I highly love and respect, there are three types of business: your business, my business, God's business. Now, overall, that's the degree of separation, okay? But in a creative environment, it is an incredible tool to remember. So when I'm sharing my truth and I'm, as Juan calls it, out of the spiritual closet, what I say is just that. And when someone's not accepting it, I go, it appears that we're not really aligning with what we're sharing together in this co-creation. I'm going to stop sharing now. Thank you so much for listening. It's okay for you not to accept it. I actually give people permission to disagree with me. Why? Because that's their power, that's their business. In a creative environment, they may or may not be operating in an insane, chaotic, destructive way. But yeah, use your discernment. One said, do I have to discern that? Does that mean I should discern it every time I meet a new person? Kind of, yeah. But what are you really trying to do? It seems like you're trying to avoid pain. It seems like you're really, what Lilith is trying to share here is stop caring whether or not you share it. If you feel pulled to share it, just share it. And then if they don't accept it, move on. Bless them and move on. Sometimes you'll have that discernment right, and sometimes it's just a matter of planting a seed that you don't get to see that flower grow, and that's okay too. I've had people come back to me several years later and say, you know what, you said something to me, and I just really didn't like it, and it really triggered me, and it really catalyzed me. As a matter of fact, I freaking hated you for it. And then, it's 10 years later, and I see how that was the right information to be shared at the time. And you didn't insult me, and we didn't get in an argument when I didn't accept it. You just moved on. Okay, so share whatever is in the seed of your heart to be shared. And if people say stop sharing it, please stop sharing it. Respect them too, because you're getting too much in their business. If you keep sharing, there's an agenda within you that is there that you don't know about. If you keep sharing and you're like, please see my power. I'm not saying you're doing that, but some people in the collective just do that. They're just new age truthers, just the same as like Christian truthers, whatever that is, where people are like, you may as well be like throwing a Bible at them and saying, John 3:16, you got to get saved. You better join that new age cult, right? Please don't do that either. This is about finding your own power. This is not about saying, do this because the new age is right. Do this because, the yogis are right. Do this because the Christians are right. All of those concepts and definitions in and of themselves are separations. Okay. My gosh, I'm like really late now for work, but oh, gracious. Once you get me started on this, I just kind of I'll get rolling. Lilith gets rolling. All right. Someone says, F you, yes. Normally I would moderate that, but I don't even know what you're saying right now. I think you're saying F yes to what I'm saying, but whatever. All right, I love you guys. It's great. It's a great Monday. I just wanted to pull in some empowerment into your world as we start our creative week together. Hopefully I'll get a moment to see you guys a little bit later, but I do need to start my sessions for the day. And hopefully we'll get a chance later this week to come on and do this again. I do these all the time at patreon.com/Pamela Aaralyn. You get all sorts of behind the scenes things as well. Today we're channeling Helen Keller, and we have a guest channel, Alana Dukes. You can find her at alanaheavenly.com. So I'll see you today at 2 p.m. and then I'll see you later this week for more here.